Ahoy, folks! So, Nintendo just announced a classic release of the original Fire Emblem, which was originally a Japan-only game. But now we get an English, fully localized release of Fire Emblem, the Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, coming to the Nintendo Switch on December 4th. So, I'm Tris Valbuena, and I am joined by Steve Bowling to discuss this Fire Emblem news. So, Steve, what do you think of the fact that now, to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Fire Emblem, I guess, we're getting the original game?
I think this is a little crazy. I like the idea. Let me just start out by saying it's nice for fans of the series. I think this is a really nice kind of thing for Nintendo to do. I'm a little sad that this is it. Like, this is the 30th anniversary celebration for one of their more popular series as of late. Mm-hmm. I would like to see a little bit more, but it's interesting. I think we'll get into this further, but I have some misgivings about this. Yeah,
I could definitely understand that. It's really surprising, honestly. I think of all the news to drop on a quiet Thursday morning, with multiple games in the pipeline coming out soon, I don't think this Fire Emblem anniversary was anything anyone expected.
Yeah. I mean, we have Age of Calamity right around the corner for 11/20. I think that's Nintendo's big game this year.
Yep.
It seems a little weird for them to put out not just Fire Emblem, but this like collector's edition that seems like, honestly, kind of like a cut above most of their other collector's editions for a game that's on the eShop for $6.
Yeah, really. This special edition, thankfully, also isn't like $100. It's like, I think it's about $50, which is okay, 10 times the price of the digital game, but not that bad considering how crazy their special editions tend to go sometimes. And this is like on par with Japanese special editions, so that's actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, the quality of the special edition is really cool. Like, you have the NES cartridge, which I think is either glass or acrylic or something. Mm-hmm. Like, it looked see-through in the picture that they posted. And then you have like the really nice kind of NES style box for it, a little bigger than a normal NES box just from looking at it in the picture that they posted. Mm-hmm. As well as what appears to be like an art book, I think.
Yeah, it's the Legend. It says the Legend of Arcania Deluxe Art Book.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a really good, like, if you're really into Fire Emblem, then this is probably a really cool thing to have. The one thing that I really wish they would have done, and this is just the fanboy and nerd in me, mm-hmm. is I wish that NES cart was real. Like, I mean, they went through the trouble of localizing the ROM and other like smaller, like I Am 8-Bit and mm-hmm. limited run games. They've put out brand new NES carts in the last couple of years. So it would have been really cool if Nintendo kind of did the same thing and they were like, hey, we're releasing this, and for a ridiculous amount, we'll also pack in a functioning NES cart. I would have gone out and bought that for sure. Like, that,
for sure.
Nintendo releasing a new NES game in 2020 that works on original hardware, I definitely would have gone out and purchased it. I don't know that I'm going to pick this up, though.
I think that's fair, too. I definitely think they would have, if it was a functioning NES cartridge, they definitely would have jacked the price up a lot more, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think even if they did, I would have paid it. Like, mm-hmm. like a new NES game would have been huge news in and of itself. I mean, yeah. And we are still kind of sort of getting a new NES game, but yeah, the idea of having a physical cart for this would have been really cool. I don't know though. I look at this and the impression I get from this is just why. Like, I get that it's really cool, but fan translations have been out for decades now for this. And obviously Nintendo did, it's not a straight rip of the DS fan translation. Like, you can tell just from the little snippet of video they showed that this is Nintendo's own localization. They didn't just buy a pre-existing translation. But yeah, why isn't this a Nintendo Switch Online game?
So that's especially since this has a limited. Especially since this has a limited release until, strange enough, just like the Mario things, until March 31st, I have a feeling it probably will end up on there. And I think this game on the Japanese eShop, or on the Japanese Famicom Online, I think it is.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
This is definitely more for the Western fans then. I don't know if they're getting... Actually, I should check really quick. Are they getting something like this in Japan? Like, even just a re-release?
So.
Because that would be interesting, but...
It would make a lot less sense for them to do it.
No, it definitely would, but at the same time...
This is, as of right now, not announced by Nintendo of Japan. Their Japanese Twitter has no news about this.
Yep, so this is just for Western audiences, which makes sense. Because I could have seen them doing a release of the special edition for fans. But yeah, since this is already on, in Japan, the Famicom Online, I imagine this would eventually make its way to the NES Online. Probably after the limited availability kind of runs out.
Yeah, I'm wondering what Nintendo's play here is with all these things that expire on March 31st, because I can't imagine being happy if I paid, even, it's just $6, but even if I paid, I paid $6 for this game, and then suddenly it was free with my Nintendo Switch Online subscription, which I would imagine the vast majority of Switch owners are subscribed to. Mm-hmm. So I'd feel a little bit burned if I paid the money for this and then Nintendo started giving it away after that. Because it's not necessarily like the same expectation as PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold, where, we kind of know that eventually certain games might go free on the platform. Nintendo doesn't really have a history of taking things they've sold for real money and then putting them, as a incentive on a subscription service. So I mean, but then again, I'm kind of torn because $6 is a trivial amount. Like, it's not a lot. But then, why sell it at all if your plan is to eventually make it free? So I could see it going either way, though. Nintendo never fails to surprise me in both good and bad ways. And I could definitely see this being like a 2021 real bad surprise. I think a lot of people firmly believe Mario 3D All-Stars is going to be chopped up and sold piecemeal at, starting April 1st. I could definitely see Fire Emblem being added to NSO, especially because it's such a minimal thing for them to do. Like, like you mentioned, Triss, it's already available on the Japanese version of the NSO app. So all they have to do is just drop the ROM in there once they've, stopped selling it, and there you go. It's available. And I mean, I could say that history could repeat itself. They did exactly this with Star Fox 2. It was exclusive to the SNES Classic, and now it's on NSO. So
that's right.
That was kind of the draw of buying the SNES Classic in the first place. And once it was off the market, the game appeared on NSO. So you may have a very valid point there.
How long between the SNES Mini and or SNES Classic and Star Fox 2 going on NSO? How long was it between them?
That's a great question. I think it was a few months at least.
Okay.
So it wasn't like immediate. It wasn't like Nintendo said, hey, we've discontinued the SNES Mini, and then 48 hours later we've got it. But I mean, they did do it though. That's the move. So maybe it won't be April 1. Maybe it'll be June or July, and they'll say, hey, Fire Emblem's now available on NSO. But
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and I think that would probably lessen the blow. You definitely don't want to do it the day after.
Right.
Hey, get Fire Emblem today because we're going to make it free tomorrow. Yeah, so that I think that will be this game's ultimate fate. But yeah, I don't imagine it'll happen. I think they'll give fans at least, a good bit of time. And it is worth noting that if you do buy this and you, for whatever reason, decide that Nintendo Switch Online isn't worth it anymore, you get to keep the game. It's not like you lose it. So
yeah, it's true.
There's the fact that you have it permanently.
Yeah, you just can't buy it again.
Yeah.
After that point, you can't buy it, but you can still play it. I think the only game that goes offline after that date is Mario 35.
Yeah, exactly. Mario 35 is the only limited release that will just never function again, which, again, I have to wonder what it is with March 31st, but maybe Nintendo's closing and they're just not doing this yet.
So, to go into a little bit here with what actually is here in this 30th anniversary edition, we talked a little bit about how it has the NES cartridge replica, the deluxe art book. It also comes with let me read the description here. Obviously, it comes with a download code for the game, because that would be really, really bad if it didn't. It comes with a replica game box, so the box for the game as well, including the instruction booklet, a protective sleeve, and a world map, which I can see a lot of people framing those, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a bigger Fire Emblem fan, I would want to have this stuff out on display. Like, the idea that Nintendo went back and created an NES-style box and cartridge label design and that for the original Fire Emblem is super cool. I mean, you know, Nintendo back in the 80s and 90s chose to hold back a lot of releases. A lot of stuff they deemed was only good for the Japanese market. And so it's really cool to see them take the time and effort to fully localize it and give it kind of the full treatment where we get, you know, the box, the art, the stuff that probably would have been included with an eventual 1991 NES release. So, you know, if I was more of a fan of Fire Emblem, and I do like Fire Emblem, it's just I'm not... It's never going to dethrone Zelda in my heart. I would definitely be all over this. Like, if there was like a missing Zelda game out there that Nintendo never released and they did this, I would be all over it. So I imagine Fire Emblem fans, you know, all over the states are going to be really thrilled to see this. And it's really cool. Like, I wish they'd do this for more games that didn't come out this way.
Yeah, and I'm actually really curious about that when you mentioned the Fire Emblem fans, because when it comes to the Fire Emblem fans in general, there tends to be this kind of divide between the classic era and like the modern era of Fire Emblem, and I think it's really nice that this is made to really appeal to the core Fire Emblem fans that have always been trying to play as many of the classic games that aren't in English as they can.
Yeah.
So this definitely is really nice to see, and I know they've been remaking some of their games. Like, they had Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, which was a remake of, I think, Gaiden, the second game. They had that, I think, 3 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
And I believe this game was remade on the DS a long time ago. But it's kind of nice that this is the classic version, not another remake of it, because I think that really appeals to these hardcore fans that are really wanting more love for the classic era.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's really cool that Nintendo's showing love to people that kind of remember, you know, the roots of this franchise that they unfortunately, you know, haven't done the best with in the States. So it's really cool for them to kind of reward that loyalty and show fans like, hey, you know, we know you guys have liked the stuff that we've put out, so here's where it all started. I actually really liked the video too, where they were showing the trophy in Smash, and it's like one kid trying to explain to another what the hell Fire Emblem is. And I was like, that probably has played out in countless living rooms across America.
Oh, definitely. I have no doubt about that. That felt very realistic.
Yeah, I really liked it. It kind of reminded me of, to date myself, Sega's old Japanese Dreamcast commercials, where it was like a tired Sega executive just watching kids talk about PlayStations and getting upset with how badly they screwed things up. So yeah, I like it when companies are very self-aware and they know that kind of like, well, you know, we dropped this character into this game and didn't really explain it properly at the time. So
I think to kind of go with that, what you're saying, that this special edition also includes a mini Nintendo Power retro collectible, and I don't know if that means it's a mini short magazine feature on it, or if it's just like this art that we see of Marth holding up the sword over the Nintendo Power logo. But it's neat.
That is a very good question. I imagine from the look of it that it's probably just like a poster or something. Because Nintendo Power used to routinely include posters in it.
Yeah.
And they usually did have like some game art with the Nintendo Power logo on it. So I'm guessing this is like a fictional, you know, what if we had featured Fire Emblem in an issue of Nintendo Power back in the day? What would the pull-out poster have been? So that's my guess on that. It kind of looks like it, but I could also, you know, unfortunately, Nintendo posts these images to freaking Twitter, and they're tiny, so it's impossible to tell. But it looks like, looking at it closer, I'm going to say 90% sure that's a poster. Just because I thought maybe there were multiple pages, but I blew the picture up, and it definitely doesn't look like that's the case.
It looks like it folds almost. It looks like it has a fold in it, like almost more like a cover to Nintendo Power. So there might be something on the other side, or if you unfold it, it's a full like cover art that could be framed.
Oh yeah.
But...
No, I think it's absolutely like I mean, I hate to use this term for Nintendo Power, but I think it's like a centerfold poster. You know, like you pull it out and then you just unfold it and it's like a normal size poster. That's my guess.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious, man, the more I look at this though, like I've pulled up this image and now that I'm looking at it full size, I'm like, man, I really want that NES box. Like, I do really want the game in the box like that. That is just so cool. The cartridge doesn't do it for me because it's clear. Like I don't know why they didn't just make it gray.
It's this weird, nice trophy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it looks really nice in person. I don't know if it's made of, it just calls it the replica game pack art piece, and I have a hard time with it because I never saw a clear, game pack. They were always gray. I think very few were different colors. Like Zelda was gold, obviously.
Right.
I think like Tengen did black ones because they were pirating the NES system in the first place. But I think almost every official game was gray. So it's weird to me to see a clear one. I think even though it might not have that ooh factor, I would have preferred for it to just be a flat gray like everything else.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, or if they wanted to do like a what if, what if we had given this series the respect it deserves, maybe a blue one or something. But still, like it just feels off. But I still I look at that box and I'm like, that is so freaking cool. Like having that on my shelf would be neat. I might actually, I'm going to give myself 50-50 odds that I buckle and end up picking this up. But.
So what you're saying is you're going to use this to get into classic Fire Emblem games.
Yeah, so the thing is, I'm definitely going to play it. I'm absolutely, whether I pick it up for $6 or for $50, I'm definitely picking it up.
Right.
Just because I did really love Three Houses. It was my game of the year. And Awakening was also similarly engaging, and that very clearly puts me into the realm of a modern Fire Emblem fan. But I can't say that I don't like the classics if I've never tried them, and right. I truly have never tried them. The extent of my experience is Awakening and Three Houses, because I was like, both of these games look incredible, and I'm completely in. So to me, it's worth it to give it a try, and I think some of the things that I like from modern Fire Emblem, like the ability to switch off permadeath, and I know some fans are going to roast me for that, but I get attached to my characters, and I don't want them to die.
Well, now there's a rewind feature.
Exactly. Rewind will help me work around permadeath, so I'll most likely give it a shot and see where I land on it. I mean, it might be I bounce off it really quickly and it just doesn't do anything for me, but it also might be that it completely sucks me in and I come to understand why folks love this series the way they do, or the older entries in this series the way they do. But yeah, I'll be there for sure. I just don't know how I'll feel about it once I am.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I guess because you gave your background on Fire Emblem, I can give a bit of mine. In terms of the games I've actually held and played, I've only played Awakening and Fates, but I've watched. I watched the rest of Fates because I was not going to buy that game 3 times. But I've watched a lot of Shadows of Valentia. I haven't finished that one, but I watched a lot of. Actually, I watched all of 4, 5, and I think it's 12, which was a remake of 3. One of my closest friends is really, really big on Fire Emblem, and he was playing a bunch of English patches for the Japanese-only games, like Genealogy of the Holy War, Thracia. So it was neat to watch those, and it's gotten me really interested in actually playing classic Fire Emblem games. And since this comes out right around the holiday season, this is a perfect way to hop into that.
True. It's a good time of year to sit down with a otherwise game that might be too long.
Definitely. And that actually brings up a good point too, with a matter of this might be too long. Do you think this is the only Fire Emblem thing we'll see for a while? Because Fire Emblem's kind of become a series where they've been trying to do something with it every year or two lately. Because we had Shadows of Valentia in 2017. We had Three Houses in 2019. If this is releasing the end of this year, is this all the Fire Emblem content for 2021? Or...
That's a good question. I'm going to say I don't think so. I think that we're going to end up seeing Something else from Fire Emblem, because I mean, as much as this is cool and it satisfies desire from the fans, it definitely did not take Nintendo a lot of time to put this together.
Right.
So this was translating a decades-old game and slapping it, in the same emulator they use for the Nintendo Switch Online app. That's not hard work from a development perspective. If anything, the hardest portion of this work was designing that special edition.
I imagine so.
So the core team, I imagine that Intelligent Systems had very little to do with this. I think this was strictly an NOA-driven effort and probably was tied up NOA staff. So I think the core team that's been working on main Fire Emblem entries has still been working on whatever they're working on. I don't think they were pulled away for this. So I would imagine that in 2021 we do see something. We see I'm not gonna count on a release, but at least an announcement of the next Fire Emblem.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Either the next Fire Emblem or, the next remake of one. Since they kind of be jumping back and forth on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see a remake being what's scheduled for this. And I would love to see, I mean, it's super biased and I doubt it'll happen, but I'd love to see Awakening remade with, the visuals of Three Houses or something like that. But
that would be nice.
I think we'll get something further down from the back catalog, like a GameCube title or something.
Oh, yeah, that would be really interesting, actually.
Or Fire Emblem 64. I don't know the name of it, but I know Fire Emblem was on the 64, wasn't it?
I think... No, wait. I don't think it was. I mean, just... Which
Fire
one?
Emblem Priestess of Darkness. Oh, it was canceled and unreleased. So
yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I heard specifically it hitting N64, so if it was canceled and unreleased, that could be interesting.
Man, that would be really cool, actually. You heard me, Intelligent Systems. Please go ahead and show us what you were working on for the 64. That would be really cool. I remember the hype around that being really big when I was younger. I was about 14, 15 when the N64 hype train was in full effect. And I remember seeing screenshots of this and looking back at it, I'm like, man, I actually really would have liked this. It's very reminiscent of a PlayStation RPG. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll see that. Probably not, though.
I think it was reworked into a later game.
Yeah, quite possibly. Like I said, my Fire Emblem history is not great. I'm working off of
That's okay.
I'm working off of ancient memories here.
That's okay. As we already went into, I'm not the most familiar with it either. I only know what my friends have shown me. But I'm definitely interested. But now we get to a really curious part of the conversation here, which is the fact that Nintendo did this at all. Could they do this again with something else? As we've noted, or will be noting now, the only other time we've had something like this outside of Star Fox 2 was Mother, the original Mother, getting that localized release back in, was that 2015? Where it went on, I think, the Wii U eShop? The original,
yeah.
Yeah, because originally we only had Earthbound, and I think this got localized as Earthbound Beginnings.
Yes.
That's the only other time I think that this kind of thing has happened. Now, sure, that didn't get a special edition and all these other things with it, but could we see more like this?
So I think I know what you're hinting at, Tris. And
not just that, but
yeah. So I just want to be clear. I don't think Mother 3 is happening. So here's what I've heard. I've spoken to Emily Rogers about this at length before, and we discussed, because she was one of the proponents of the Mother 3 is coming to Wii U rumor. And we talked at length about what happened, why that never came to pass. And from what I've heard, and again, I've never played Mother 3 in Japanese. I can't tell you if this is accurate, but this is what I've heard. I heard that there were deliberations within NOA about some potentially inflammatory parts of Mother 3's dialogue. Like jokes that were particularly insensitive to the LGBTQ community and stuff that just would not fly if put in English, especially, in the modern day. Right. And I think that Nintendo deemed it as just like, well, we could hack the game apart and really upset the fans, or we could translate it and really upset the fans.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a lose-lose for Nintendo, and I think that game will almost certainly never be released because of it.
Yeah.
So if you like Mother 3, play a fan translation. But I think that Nintendo could, and more importantly, should do this. Not with Mother 3 specifically, but there are plenty of games that they've left in Japan, that aren't big names like Mario or Zelda. Like Gift-Pia never came over. Captain Rainbow never came over.
That's true.
And I would love to see any of those. I mean, I think Nintendo needs to realize that the people that are clamoring for these retro games are now fully grown adults in most cases. So we can deal with the fact that Birdo has a vibrator. I mean, just to point out one example, or that Little Mac got fat. We can deal with those. And I would love to see some of those more offbeat GameCube era games be revisited and given an official blessing or translation. But I do think there's plenty back catalog for them to go through and start re-releasing content. I mean, I think they're going to focus on series that have a history, that have gained a fan base over the years, like Fire Emblem. But I mean, they could definitely do lots more.
So what you're saying is, even though it's already on NSO, they should totally release an English version of Panel de Pong.
Absolutely. I'm there for it, man. I will definitely do it.
Aside from that, though, I do think between some of the Japanese-only Fire Emblem games getting remakes, like Shadows of Valencia, and now this, I sincerely hope we'll eventually see all the Fire Emblem games that are Japanese exclusive come over to the West and get localized. I realize that's, I think, like 6 Fire Emblem games. Like, that's actually a lot, to be honest. And if they do that, it would definitely be spread out over, like, the course of 10 years. But I definitely think they should, because if this doesn't show anything else, it shows that Fire Emblem has become such a big, like, flagship title for Nintendo that can sell well enough that they're willing to do this for its anniversary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I look forward to hopefully hearing that this does well and will lead to more things like this in the future.
Yeah, I think that it's... I really want Nintendo to do more stuff like this. I just wish that... I don't know. I don't understand the limited release. I wish they'd handle it better.
Yeah.
Like, this should just be a game you can pick up whenever you want. And it's baffling to me that it isn't. So, Nintendo, if you're listening, stop this. It's silly. You don't need to do this. We'll still buy the game.
I really do hope on, like, April 1st, or maybe not April 1st because people won't take it seriously. On April 2nd, we get some sort of announcement as to some sort of announcement that inevitably explains all these recent limited releases.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nintendo kind of owes their audience an explanation. Like, why are you doing this with... And it's not like they're doing this with experimental weird games that they're not sure will sell. This is Mario and Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna be fine, especially with Fire Emblem. Like, you are taking something that cost you very little to make, charging a very low price, which makes it an impulse buy for a lot of people.
Yep.
Like, why would you not keep this around? What is the harm in keeping it up? But I don't know. Someone in Nintendo made this call, and I mean, it's hard to say because it's not like it's an American-only policy. They're doing this for Mario, which, that's happening worldwide. So what gives? Like, I would really like to know. So hopefully they'll, I'm hoping that an investor meeting comes up and someone asks exactly that. Like, what are you doing? And Nintendo will have to answer their shareholders. So I'm hoping that somebody on the shareholder side just asks that for all of us that are wondering. If not, maybe E3 will happen someday again, and then we can ask them that.
But then we get the very obvious no comment.
Yeah, true. We won't get the real answer, but hopefully someone does.
Hopefully. Alright, well, I think that about wraps up this discussion on the 30th anniversary of Fire Emblem, the Shadow Dragon, and series as a whole. So, what do you guys think of this limited edition release, or limited release in general? Are you guys excited for Fire Emblem? Let us know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for hopefully plenty more on Fire Emblem and other things gaming as well. Until next time, farewell.
Bye.